I'm Emily Carter, 35, founder of Apex Innovations. When my father invited me to his 65th birthday at the Ritz dining, I hoped things might be different this time. Despite building a $1.2 billion company, I've always been the family letdown, especially to my brother Michael. That night, they seated me on the terrace alone while they celebrated inside. The terrace is for underachievers, Michael smirked. Little did they know, my helicopter was about to land.
So med teames, life hands you the perfect chance to make a stand.
If you've ever been underestimated by those who should support you most, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and if you've had a moment where you proved your worth to your doubters.
Now, let Emil take you back to where it all started.
I grew up in Newton, a wealthy Boston suburb where success meant an Ivy League degree and a hefty stock portfolio. My father, Richard Carter, wasn't just a finance executive, he was the executive at Pacific Wealth Group. His view of success was rigid: Yale education, finance career, yacht club membership, and a grand Tudor home in the right zip code. My mother, Margaret, played her role flawlessly, the supportive finance wife hosting charity auctions and golf events. She was warm but passive, always deferring to Dad's views, smoothing over conflicts rather than resolving them. Then there was Michael, 5 years older, Dad's mirror image. From childhood, he followed the prescribed path: lacrosse captain, summer internships at Dad's firm, early admission to Yale. He basked in Dad's approval and adopted his values and biases. I was different. While Michael networked at Dad's club, I was dismantling our family PC to understand its circuits. At 11, I coded my first program, a digital anniversary card for Mom with animated stars. Dad called it tinkering with gadgets. Mom found it sweet but not serious. "Tech's a hobby, Emily," Dad would say. "Real careers are in finance, law, or surgery." By high school, the gap was stark. Michael was student council president, Yale-bound. I was the eccentric girl coding apps for local shops, headed to Caltech. At my graduation dinner, Dad toasted Michael's mentorship of his peculiar sister. I was 17 and already a shadow in my family story.
College wieden ze divide.
While Michael joined Dad's old fraternity and hobnobbed with future hedge fund managers, I excelled at Caltech, double majoring in computer science and economics. I made the dean's list every term, but my achievements were afterthoughts at family gatherings. "Caltech's solid for tech," Dad would tell his peers, his tone implying it was a fallback for not getting into Yale. The real split came after graduation. Michael landed a senior analyst role at Pacific Wealth, conveniently vacant just as he finished school. I rejected 7 corporate offers to launch Apex Innovations with my roommate, Rachel, and 2 classmates. Playing startup, Michael scoffed, calling it a detour before I joined the real world. My parents were puzzled and worried. "Wouldn't you rather start at a reputable firm, dear?" Mom asked gently. Dad was blunt: "No Carter has ever gambled on a startup. We build legacies at institutions." Those early years were grueling. While Michael bought a Maserati and a harborside condo, I shared a cramped apartment with 4 roommates, surviving on instant noodles and 20-hour workdays. At Thanksgiving, Michael flaunted his new Patek Philippe watch while I tried to explain our latest AI algorithm to blank stares. "Something about software," Dad would mumble when his friends asked about my work. The toughest part wasn't the grind or the debt, it was my family's relentless skepticism. Every holiday dinner was a test of endurance. Michael's bonuses were toasted with vintage wine. My company's first $2 million in revenue was met with, "But is it stable?" "Not everyone fits the conventional mold," Mom would say, defending me while implying I'd chosen a lesser path. Michael was sharper: "Tech's a fad. When it crashes, there's a teller job waiting at the bank." 5 years in, Apex secured $50 million in funding and gained traction. Michael pivoted: "Anyone can raise money in this market, they're tossing cash at any app." When we signed our first Fortune 100 client, he shrugged, probably just checking a diversity box with a female-led firm. Mom mediated with platitudes: "Both my kids shine in their own ways," as if we weren't even in the same arena. The last family event before Dad's birthday was Easter, 8 months prior. By then, Apex had 250 employees and offices in 4 cities, featured in Inc. and Wired. Yet nothing had shifted.
How's your little project?
Dad asked, the same question he'd posed for 9 years. Over dessert, news hit that a rival was acquired for $3 billion. Good timing for your sector, Michael remarked. Surf the wave while it holds, M. I left early, deciding in my car, Dad's 65th would be their last chance. I'd show up, be gracious, and open the door to change. If they didn't budge, I'd accept they'd never see me clearly and stop chasing their approval. The invitation to Dad's 65th arrived in June, cream stationery with silver foil, planned by Mom with her usual social precision. Black tie optional, it noted, for dinner at the Ritz Dining, one of the city's most elite venues. My name was in Mom's delicate calligraphy. I called Rachel immediately. You're not actually going, are you? She asked. As my best friend and COO, she'd seen my family's dynamics up close. It's his 65th, Rach, a big deal.
Every time you go, you react. Remember New Year's?
You barely spoke for 2 days.
I seid tracing the invitations edges.
This time could be different. Our latest valuation is $1.2 billion. They can't keep acting like I'm running a lemonade stand. They've ignored it for years. Michael would see you solve world hunger and call it a side gig. Despite her warnings, I RSVP'd yes, hope, or maybe stubbornness, winning out. That week, Apex began talks to acquire Infocore, a data analytics firm that would boost our platform, costing $1.5 billion, our boldest move yet. As negotiations intensified, our team set a critical board meeting for the same weekend as Dad's birthday. I can handle both, I told my team when they suggested rescheduling.
Dinner's Saturday night.
We'll prep Friday, and I'll fly back for the board Sunday. I planned meticulously, a sleek Armani dress, elegant but assertive, a rare first-edition finance journal for Dad, thoughtful but not pleading.
The Infocore deal great trick here.
A rival, Megatech, entered the fray, turning our purchase into a potential bidding war. 3 days before the birthday, I met my therapist of 5 years, Dr. Ellis. What's your ideal outcome for this dinner? She asked. Acknowledgement, I said. Not worship, just that what I've built counts. If that doesn't happen, I let go of hoping for it. I accept they'll never see me and stop letting them make me feel small. She nodded. That's a strong boundary. How will you handle old patterns? We rehearsed responses. If Michael jabbed, I'd nod calmly, not defend. If Dad downplayed my work, I'd shift topics, not seek validation. The aim was self-protection, not conflict.
The day before, I flew to Boston, checking into the Mandarin Oriental for neutral ground, not my parents' house.
Mom called as I unpacked. We're thrilled you're coming, darling. It means so much to your father. Looking forward to it, I fibbed. Michael and Laura will be there. They're expecting, you'll be an aunt by spring. Great news, I said, ignoring the twinge. Another milestone Michael hit first, another dinner topic excluding me.
Your father's partners are coming. The Hendersons, the Grays, the Thompsons.
All people who knew Michael well and me barely. That night, reviewing Infocore documents, I got a text from our CFO, James. Megatech approached Infocore's board directly. Need to strategize. I called him, and we spoke for 90 minutes. The situation was shaky. Megatech was aggressive. Daily check-ins, James urged. Things could shift fast. Agreed, I'll call post-dinner tomorrow. Morning brought more texts. Infocore's CEO wanted to talk directly. Megatech upped their informal offer. I handled what I could before getting ready, trying to box up business stress separate from family nerves. Applying makeup, I gave myself a mirror pep talk. You're the CEO of a $1.2 billion company. You employ hundreds. You're closing the biggest deal in your sector. No dinner talk can erase that. I almost bought it. The Ritz Dining shimmered with refined elegance as my cab arrived at 6:55 p.m. Its discreet entrance, marked by a polished brass sign, buzzed with valets. Evening, Miss Carter, one said, startling me until I realized he'd likely checked the guest list. Apex Innovations founder, right? Saw you in Forbes last month.
Incredible work.
I thanked him, briefly lifted. Someone in New York knew my name. The maitre d' greeted me smoothly, checking his list.
MS. Carter, for the Richard Carter party.
They're seated. This way. Passing through the main dining room, I spotted my family at the grand central table, Dad's command position. Michael's arm rested on Laura's shoulders. Mom laughed at a partner's quip. Dad presided, the patriarch marking 65 years. But the maitre d' veered left to a glass door. My family's there, I said, pointing. He looked uneasy. I have specific seating instructions, Ms. Carter. This way. Confusion turned to realization as he led me to the terrace. A lone table sat in a corner, half hidden by a fern, barely offering a view of the main room. There's a mistake, I said. I'm sorry, but Mr. Carter the younger directed you be seated here. As I processed this, Michael appeared, wine glass in hand.
Tere you are, Glad you made it.
His smile was cold.
WHY am I out hier alone, Michael.
He shrugged. Space issues. Dad invited extra partners. The terrace is, he sipped his wine, for underachievers. We need the main table for those who count. The cruelty stung, a new low even for him.
This is Dad's birthday.
I should be with family, I said, voice steady. Mom thought so, he admitted, but Dad figured this was simpler. His colleagues are discussing the new fund. Wouldn't want to bore you with actual business. Before I could reply, Mom appeared, her face a mix of guilt and unease.
Emily, darling, Jure here. She erkisset me.
I'm so sorry about the seating. I told your father it wasn't right, but you know how he is once plans are set. Her usual apology without action.
It's fine, Mom, elite.
I'm used to being an afterthought. Her expression faltered. Don't say that, sweetheart. We're thrilled you're here. I'll join you after the starters. We both knew she wouldn't. The terrace waiter, visibly embarrassed, asked, Something to drink, Miss Carter? Your priciest Pinot Noir, I said. If I was banished, I'd at least dent Dad's tab.
Et mai solitari table, I veccheze celebration trug se glas.
Dad stood, toasting. Everyone hung on his words, the perfect Richard Carter spectacle. Michael sat at his right, the heir. Mom smiled adoringly. Mom glanced my way occasionally, guilt in her eyes, but stayed put. One partner gestured toward me. Dad's brief reply and wave shut it down. The terrace had two other tables, couples clearly annoyed at their outdoor seats despite the mild evening, casting curious looks my way, likely wondering what I'd done to earn isolation. I considered leaving. Each moment underscored my irrelevance to them. I had an excuse. Infocore needed me. I could walk out, focus on real stakes, not this staged rejection.
Pride hält Tere.
Leaving would let Michael win. I'd stay through the entree, keep my composure, then exit gracefully. Picking at my dessert, a lemon tart tasting like dust, my phone buzzed insistently. 4 texts from James, 3 from our counsel, Lisa, and 5 missed calls. My stomach sank. James's first message, urgent. Megatech offered Infocore $1.7 billion. Their CEO's flying in tonight. Need guidance. Another detailed, Infocore board meeting at 9:30 p.m. to review. Want our counter by 11. VP says 2-hour window for proposal. I stepped to the terrace's far corner for privacy and called James.
What's happening?
It's accelerating, Emily.
Megatech's Alkesh, no strings.
Infocore's investors are leaning their way, but our synergy's stronger. We've shown how their tech integrates with ours, I said. Cash often trumps strategy. Their CEO, Nelson, respects you.
Wannst du Herr Joa counter to nicht?
I checked my watch, 8:37 p.m., when and where. Their jet lands 10:45.
Conference room at Mandarin Oriental, 11:15 Uhr.
Board wants our offer by midnight. This deal was Apex's future. Perfect tech alignment, expanded markets, unique talent. Losing it would cripple us and empower Megatech. I'm in, I said. You sure? It's your dad's birthday. Positive.
Prep the counter. I want it airtight wen I get Tere.
Tell them we'll go to $1.8 billion with our earnout structure. As I hung up, Michael approached, face sour.
Really, M?
Business calls during Dad's birthday. I tucked my phone away. It was critical. Critical, he mocked. Can't you act like you care about Dad for one night, or is your startup always first? Before I could answer, Dad and Mom stepped out, their faces showing Michael had ratted me out. Emily, Dad said, his tone heavy with familiar disapproval, Michael says you're working during my celebration. I took an urgent call about an acquisition. He sighed. Always some crisis with these little ventures, isn't there? At Pacific Wealth, we handle business in business hours. 9 years building Apex, and he still called it a little venture. The sting was as sharp as ever. It's a $1.8 billion deal, Dad.
Not little.
He dismissed it with a wave. Whatever it is, it can wait. Tonight's about family. The irony of that, with me on the terrace, was lost on him. Mom touched his arm. Richard, maybe Emily's work is pressing. More than my 65th? Doubtful, he said. This is why I've always questioned your career, Emily. No foundation, no order, always chasing the next big idea. My phone buzzed. Lisa texted, Infocore CEO insists on meeting you. Says decision depends on your pitch. Clarity hit. On one side, a father who never valued my choices, exiling me like a secret. On the other, a $1.2 billion company I'd built, with people who trusted my leadership so much they needed me now. I have to go, I said, standing.
Go.
Dad's brows shot up.
You can't leave mid dinner. I'm not in your dinner, Dad. I'm on the edge where you put me.
Yes, I have to go. We're closing the biggest deal in our industry, and I'm needed. Michael snorted. Always so theatrical. I grabbed my purse and shawl.
Sorry, I can't stay. Happy birthday, Dad.
If you leave now, Emily, it says where your priorities lie, Dad said stiffly. I met his eyes. It does. And if you'd ever visited my office, read one article about Apex, or asked me one real question about my work, maybe my priorities would be different tonight. Mom looked pained.
Emily, please.
It's okay, Mom.
I'm not mad.
I'm just seeing things clearly. I kissed her cheek.
I'll call tomorrow.
Heading to the exit, I texted my pilot, Ethan, need pickup ASAP.
Emergency meeting.
Location, the Ritz Dining. He replied instantly, got it. Chopper can land at Hudson River Park, 6 blocks away. ETA 18 minutes. I paused at the terrace door, looking back. Dad had turned to his guests. Michael whispered to Mom, who seemed torn. Neither called after me. Outside, I inhaled the summer night, feeling free for the first time in hours. My phone lit up with team updates, and I smiled. These were my people, who saw my worth.
I texted Ethan. Perfect.
Heading to park. Walking briskly, I felt unburdened.
ID kosen Apex, not Dad's disappointment. At Hudson River Park, I heard the choppers wump wump.
Pedestrians gawked as the sleek black helicopter, Apex's silver logo glowing, descended. I nearly laughed at the drama. Unplanned, yet perfect. This wasn't about show, it was about duty to my company. My phone rang, the restaurant, likely Mom. I declined. As I neared the landing site, Michael called. I answered. What are you doing? He shouted over restaurant noise. Heading to a meeting, like I said. There's a helicopter in the park with your logo.
That's my right.
His stunned pause was satisfying. You're sending a chopper to Dad's birthday?
Are you crazy?
I'm getting to an urgent $1.8 billion deal. Dad's dinner's just timing. Everyone's watching, you're causing a scene. I'm handling a crisis efficiently.
Take it as you will.
I hung up as I reached the park.
Security cordoned off onlookers. Ethan landed flawlessly, Apex logo stark against the dark hole.
Ignoring texts from Michael, Mom, and Dad, I focused forward. This wasn't their moment. Glancing back at the Ritz Dining, blocks away, I saw silhouettes at the windows, glasses in hand, watching the spectacle. A security guard escorted me to the chopper, shielding me from rotor wind. The door opened, revealing Ethan, James, and Lisa. Thought you'd want a briefing en route, James yelled over the noise, helping me in. I buckled up as Ethan prepped for takeoff.
Trug the window, the terrace, my banishment spot was empty, staff clearing my Unterucht tat.
As we lifted off, Dad called. I answered, on speaker. Emily, what is this? He shouted over restaurant chatter. I'm in a helicopter for an emergency meeting. A helicopter? You couldn't take a car.
Time's ticht.
We're closing a major deal. What deal needs this drama? We're buying Infocore for $1.8 billion. Their board's waiting, megatechers trying to outbid us.
The längse.
I pictured him grappling with the scale.
Infocore?
David Larsen's firm.
Yes, you know David.
Of course, Pacific Wealth backed their early funding. His tone shifted, anger fading to confusion. They're worth over $1 billion now. $1.7 billion is Megatech's offer. We're at $1.8 billion. More silence, murmurs in the background, his partners intrigued. And you're leading this personally? I'm the CEO, Dad.
It's my job. James gave a thumbs up. Lisa hit a grin.
I didn't realize your company was at that level, Dad said finally.
I know, Dad.
You never asked.
The chopper tilted, revealing Manhattan's lights.
The Ritz dining was a speck below. Well, Dad said, stiff again, we'll discuss this later.
You're boozy.
Very. Thanks for understanding.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Sorry I couldn't stay. I hung up before he replied.
James clapped slowly. Epic exit.
Lisa opened her laptop. Infocore's lawyers sent the latest terms.
Let's review. Flying up over the city, I glanced at the Fading restaurant.
I'd chased validation from that table for years, from people who loved me but didn't see me. Now, soaring, I felt free since founding Apex. Let's nail this deal, I told my team. We have a company to buy. We landed on our Manhattan office rooftop at 10:25 p.m. James handed me a briefing. Megatech up to $1.9 billion in flight, all cash, few conditions. Lisa showed financials. Matching $1.9 billion means reworking our loans. Banks will want more collateral. In the elevator, we strategized. Our conference room was a command center. Screens with models, plans, competitor data. CEOs here. Someone shouted as we entered. 35 execs, lawyers and finance staff clapped. Save it for the win, I said, but smiled. These were my true family, united by our vision. Our CFO, Mark, shared projections. At $2 billion, we can make it work, but we'd adjust earnouts. I reviewed. What about $1.95 billion, faster payments, and guaranteed roles for their execs? Could swing it, Mark nodded. Their CEO values his team. For an hour, we honed our pitch, targeting Megatech's weaknesses. Unlike them, we offered Infocore true integration, not asset stripping. At 11:45 p.m., David Larsen and his team arrived. David, an engineer who'd built Infocore from scratch like me, looked weary but resolute. Emily, thanks for making this happen fast, he said, shaking my hand. Heard you left a family event. Some things take precedence, I replied. This partnership's critical. In the boardroom, my team pitched flawlessly, detailing our vision for merging companies. Instead of just outbidding, we showed synergy, complementary tech, non-overlapping clients, a shot at industry dominance. You could take Megatech as cash, I told David. It's tempting, and no one would judge. But in 9 months, your tech's diced up, your team split, your vision's gone. I displayed our integration plan. With us, Infocore stays a core unit. Your tech anchors our next-gen platform. Your engineers keep innovating, backed by our scale. This isn't a buyout, it's a merger of equals.
David studied the screen. And the numbers.
I nodded to Mark, who shared our offer, $1.95 billion total, $1.4 billion cash at closing, $550 million in Apex stock, no lockup, fast payments, and exec autonomy. Megatechers at $1.9 billion, all cash, David noted. They're buying to kill competition, I said.
Vire bejelding so meeting bigger togeter.
Talks stretched past midnight, diving into tech specs, org charts, and projections. By 2:30 a.m., we'd tackled all issues, tweaked terms, and neared agreement. At 3:42 a.m., David's team nodded.
He shook my hand.
We're in. The room buzzed with quiet triumph, exhausted pros who knew what we'd won. As lawyers drafted final papers, I stepped onto the terrace, the city glowing below, oblivious to our drama. My silenced phone showed missed calls and texts from family. I ignored them, savoring what we'd done. By morning, the deal was sealed. At 9:30 a.m., David and I held a press conference in our lobby, shaking hands before Apex and Infocore logos. This merger creates an industry leader, I told reporters. Together, we'll deliver what neither could alone.
The press ate it up.
The Financial Times noted, Apex CEO Emily Carter left her father's birthday to seal the deal, arriving by chopper. Reuters headline, From family snub to $1.95 billion deal, Carter's exit shakes tech. Markets opened, our stock jumped 15%. Analysts lauded our strategy and leadership under pressure. Congrats flooded in from peers and investors. Mom texted, we need to talk. Your father's upset but confused. Call soon. Post-briefing, I returned to my hotel, adrenaline fading. Alone, I processed the whirlwind, terrace humiliation to industry triumph. You did it, Rachel said when I called. Professionally and personally. How so? You proved your worth on your terms and stood up to your family undeniably. The chopper wasn't planned, I said. Maybe not, she laughed, but it was one hell of a move. I ordered room service and collapsed, drained. For years, I'd built Apex while craving family approval. In one night, I'd secured our future and stopped chasing their validation. Dad texted, we should discuss your company. I may have misjudged its scope. Not an apology, but a crack in his armor.
I set my phone down.
Whatever came next with them would be on my terms. I'd chosen myself, and that was enough. 2 weeks later, I resumed my routine. Infocore's integration was smooth, our stock stabilized higher, press shifted to the deal's impact. I kept family contact minimal. Mom called daily, increasingly worried. Michael texted, defensive then grudgingly admitting he'd been a bit harsh. Dad emailed formally, congratulations on a notable achievement. Let's discuss when convenient. I replied briefly to Mom, ignored Michael, and told Dad, thanks.
Il riech out wen free.
Rachel called it my power phase. You're finally in control with them.
Don't slip back.
She was right. I wasn't rushing to mend things. I was deciding what relationship I wanted, if any. One Tuesday, Mom caught me by phone. Emily, we need to talk about the dinner, she said, mediating as ever. It ended dramatically. It did, I said, neutral. The helicopter was a bit much, no? It was necessary for a critical meeting. Bad timing, but unavoidable. She sighed. Darling, I know the seating upset you. I wasn't upset, Mom. I saw my place in this family and acted for my business. The chopper would have come regardless. Your father's been grappling. The deal was in the Wall Street Journal. His peers are buzzing. That explained his interest, not my success, but others' notice. Glad he's informed, I said. Can we have lunch, just us? We need to talk in person. I agreed. Friday, Café Lumière by my office, noon. Friday, Mom sat at an outdoor table, dressed simply, fidgeting. You look radiant, she said.
Success suitio.
Thanks.
How are you?
Managing. Your father's been tough since the birthday, not just you, everything. She twisted her napkin. Emily, I owe you an apology. I froze. Mom rarely owned fault. I should have fought for you to sit with us. I knew it was wrong but avoided clashing with your father and Michael. I took the easy road as always. I nodded, letting her go on. Seeing that helicopter, I saw you anew, not my daughter on a strange path, but a commanding leader. She looked down. I know so little about your life, your wins. You could have asked any time in 9 years, Mom. I know. I thought I was giving you space, but I didn't understand your world, so I stayed out. I want to do better.
I want to know my daukata.
Her earnestness felt real. I'd like that, Mom. Lunch became our first real talk about Apex, the deal, my work. Near the end, she paused. Your father won't say it openly, but he was floored by your scale. He checked Apex's valuation after you left. He had no clue. He never cared to. That's shifting. He's proud in his way, but struggles to show it after misjudging you. Has he said he was wrong? She smiled wryly. You know him. He said, perhaps Emily's unorthodox path has more value than I thought. I laughed. It was peak Richard Carter, the nearest he'd get to admitting fault. He wants to see your office, see what you've built. I'll consider it. Over weeks, I set boundaries. No Sunday dinners, but occasional lunches with Mom. I answered Dad's emails but didn't reach out. I ignored Michael until his clumsy apology, then kept contact minimal. I deepened ties with my true supporters. Rachel, our founding team, employees, friends who cheered me when family didn't. A month post-deal, I hosted a dinner for this chosen family, toasting not just Apex's win but the bonds that sustained us. To those who see us, Rachel said, raising her glass to warm laughter. Next morning, my assistant buzzed, your father's here, no appointment. I exhaled. Send him in. Dad entered my office, hesitant, eyeing the skyline view, awards, sleek design. Impressive, he said. Very impressive. Thanks. What's up? He sat, uneasy. I've been thinking about the dinner, your acquisition, how I've viewed your career. I waited. I've followed one path, Yale, finance, the usual markers. When you chose differently, I thought you were wrong because it wasn't my way. You did. The Infocore deal showed me I was narrow-minded. David Larson called, said you're one of the sharpest execs he's met. David's generous. He's brutally candid, always. He said I should be immensely proud, and I am. I just didn't show it, as that'd mean admitting I misjudged you. His near admission was more than I'd expected from Richard Carter, finance titan. I'm not asking forgiveness for the dinner or past, he said, but a chance to understand what you've built, to know my daughter's real life, not my assumptions. I studied him. It wasn't a full shift, but a start. I can give you an office tour, introduce the team. Relief crossed his face.
ID likes it.
Walking him through Apex, showing our tech, explaining our model, I realized something. For years, I'd defined myself against my family, especially Dad, driven to succeed despite his doubt. Now, I saw my worth never hinged on his approval. The chopper wasn't about proving anything. It was about choosing Apex and myself fully. Their changed views were a byproduct, not the aim. Months later, we built a new dynamic. Not a cozy family bond, but a respectful adult connection. Michael stayed distant, sometimes civil. Mom grew engaged. Dad tried to grasp my world, succeeding unevenly. I started traditions reflecting my true self, retreats with close friends, mentorship for women in tech, celebrations of business milestones as life events. The Infocore deal elevated Apex to tech's top tier. At our IPO, ringing the Nasdaq bell, I looked at my supporters and saw how far I'd come from that terrace table. My journey wasn't about chopper exits, though they make great tales. It was about steady work building value, a company and a self-worth no one could shrink by seating me wrongly. Family ties remain tangled, love, history, hope, and letdowns mixed. Reconciliations imperfect, ongoing. But by choosing myself that night, I shifted the balance forever. I didn't need their approval to know my value. If you feel unseen by those who should champion you, remember, the strongest statement is pursuing your vision, no matter who gets it. Your worth lies in the integrity of your path, not the doubts of others. Share your story of standing tall against naysayers in the comments. If this hit home, like, subscribe, and share with someone who needs to know their path is valid, even if not all see it. Thanks for hearing my story.
The trust validation is your own.